What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. It's Wednesday night, June 4th. And tonight's show, we are going to be hearing from four beautiful souls sharing about challenges they've gone through in their life to get to where they are today. And in this awakening world, and all of you that are in the Zoom room and that are watching on YouTube, Facebook, or broadcast partners, we're all in the process of awakening. We're all in the process of raising our consciousness in our own unique ways. We each have our own unique journey. And so we're going to get a chance to hear vulnerably from three beautiful souls, all of whom I really have a lot of respect for, that are in the Zoom room with us. And then we're going to have, at the end, a video from Andrew Harvey, who's been on this show and whom I have tremendous love. I think most of us have great admiration for him and what he just has gone through. But briefly, I'll show you who our guests are. Timothy Earle is a longtime friend of mine, and Timothy is going to be sharing with us. And you might remember recently we met Christian when we were doing one of our shows, and I said, I want to hear more from this man. And so he agreed to be with us tonight. And coming back again, we've had her on a couple times recently because we really enjoy Hannah Bourke. So these are our three in-person guests, and then we will be hearing on video from our dear Andrew Harvey. Omashar is in England, so we are going to actually play an Omashar video to kind of get things started, and then Hannah is going to bless us with a couple of songs later on in the show. So that's going to be our music for tonight. And here we go. I thought this is an especially poignant Omashar song. It's not quite so much of a rock and roll one, but it I think will set the tone nicely for tonight's show.
When flowers grow, dripping with dew, and rivers flow in sapphire blue, I suddenly know what a fall God I knew. I am a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when autumn sun kisses my cheek, whilst cool winds come from mountains peak, with poems on my tongue but no wish to speak, I am a water. When I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever. When tender hands trace memories where powdered sands meet temperate seas, I don't understand, but I love mysteries. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when evening stars shine all around, my grieving heart's no longer down. And things that were lost, that's where true hope's found. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever? Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. Oh, sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever. I am a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I am a tear that's lost fear of the ocean.
Hmm. While we're in this kind of tender place, I want us to bring into our consciousness Ayada, who of course is, who is such a beloved member of the Global Peace Tribe. And some of you know that right now her son, whose name is Sun, S-U-N, is fighting for his life. He's in a hospital, and his sister is with him, and Ayada is trying to arrange to get up there to be with him. I've been texting with her every day, and there's been little tiny positive signs of progress today, but he's still very much in danger. So let's just take a moment, and I'm going to go to gallery view, and let's send our love to Ayada and maximum grace for her son named Sun. And maintaining this sacred space, also sending love to Omashar and his mum in England. It's been challenging for him there. So lots of love to our beloved Omashar and to his mum, maximum grace for her situation. Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, I'm going to introduce our first presenter. And he's a friend of mine. We've known each other and been involved in different ways. We've been together in the Bay Area. We've been together in Maui. And he's a beautiful, beautiful man, as you're about to see. And he's recently gone through a cancer ordeal that was very, very tender. And with no further ado, this is my friend Timothy Earle, And thank you, Timothy, for agreeing to be on the show. I think you were on the show a few years ago in a different context.
Yes.
So it's good to have you back, and certainly under this context. And so, Timothy, maybe just bring our audience into your journey and what's taken place for you and how you've been working with it.
Yeah. I have a bit of a cold, so if I cough or something, it's not related to cancer. It's just cold.
Okay.
I left for Maui in 2019 and knew there was something going on inside of my throat. Felt like this marble there, and got diagnosed. Took a while in November on my birthday with cancer. Quite a gift to receive. And like most people who get the C word, I went into a panic, a shock, felt like I might die. And my naturopath, who I'd been working with for about 3 months, doing an alkaline diet, water fast, a pretty intense procedure, he pulled me aside and said, I think you need to go use Western medicine. I think we've done a lot and I haven't been able to get rid of it with you. So I'm recommending that. And without his encouragement, I might not be here. So I went and did Western medicine. Osteonecrosis ensued after my cancer treatment. And so all in all, I went from about 200 pounds down to 143 pounds. I climbed back up to about 155. Osteonecrosis, which is was caused by the radiation treatment that I had. It hurt the nerves that bring blood to this side of my jaw. You can see a dent here. I lost 2 molars. And that was worse than the actual cancer treatment, which had been probably the greatest suffering I'd ever experienced in my life. I had to give up my coaching practice for a while. And as I climbed out of cancer treatment, I began to coach again, and then osteonecrosis set in, and I would literally lay down, rest, and then do calls with clients and hold it together, and then deal with the osteonecrosis. It, at its worst, got to a place where I wasn't sure I could keep going. And I started talking to people who I thought could handle my darkness. And it got to a place where I actually planned my end and took out life insurance policies that would work and figured out how I would do this and have the insurance policies pay. And I called I got this intuition to go do a ceremony with a medicine brother of mine who specializes in Wachuma and is a certified member of the Wachuma Church, the Wachumans. And he said, oh yeah, we're doing one Saturday. It was Thursday. I hopped on a plane the next day with my beloved and we were there. And Wachuma is a great thing at disarmoring. And it allowed me to start feeling and talking about what I was going through. And that was a turnaround point. And after that, things got a lot better. Things have been continually getting better. And I shared with a friend, I want to create a t-shirt t-shirt line actually with multiple images, but I've only done one so far, that expresses I love my life. Because the thing that actually kept me going all the way through was not only the people that I love and that loved me, but moments in my life where I could reflect back on and remembered kayaking with a whale, or standing on top of a mountain, or cuddling with a group of dear friends, or the birth of my one of my daughters. It was a home birth and it was just me and her mother. The birth of my other daughter too, to be fair. And so many moments, hikes with my father as a kid, many, many moments that reminded me it's worth pushing forward and hanging in there and believing I'm going to get to a place where I can fully embody the love I have for life. And so when I was in Bali recently, I designed this logo, I love my life. And then the back of the all natural cotton t-shirt, handmade in Bali, fair trade. All the people that create the t-shirts I met, I got to see the factory, and they're all getting a very good living wage in Bali, so I feel good about it all. And then I designed this with the help of AI, but a lot of trial and error. And it's just a t-shirt. I love my life. To remind me and other people who want to wear it that life is not always easy. Sometimes it's full of suffering. And it's important to remember those moments that we have cherished life to help us keep going. But today I want to dive a little deeper. And where I'm coming to now, another chapter, another turn in the corner, is that part of loving my life is an inner work. It's a ability to self-reflect, listen to those that I love, take responsibility for harm that I have caused others, and to stay in the apology process with them until that harm is either healed or at least we come to some, if it's possible, some level of understanding and acceptance. And in that process of self-awareness or self-reflection, I have uncovered yet another layer of my own attachment style, which is what I coach couples on, my own shadow from my childhood wounding, and the patterns that I can still find myself in after all the work that I've done. And so I humbly sit here today saying I continue to practice loving my life in a way that is an inner work and a relational work, not just having incredible experiences, which I definitely love to co-create and experience with other people. And so the t-shirt is a reminder of loving my life in an inner way, loving the lives of those around me and showing up in a way that's more considerate, more kind, more aware. And we might then reach out to loving this beautiful thing called the planet that we are gifted this experience of living on. And I often think about, it's trying to call me. I often think about the rare chance that we have to be in a human body and to get to experience everything, including the suffering that I went through. Cancer is not a gift that I would wish upon anyone, but it has been a gift in my life and really helped me appreciate just what it is to be in a healthy body, what it is to have people support you and love you and receive that love. And I think I've said enough. So Scott, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, well, I'm loving what
keep
you're
going.
saying. Loving what you're saying. Question: how do you manage loving the parts of your life that are uncomfortable?
I don't think I could do it without people who are willing to lean in and call me in on my shadow or unconscious behavior. And I have been in relationship with people who weren't able to meet me in that way. Fortunately now, and I think this is largely due to things that happened before cancer and cancer, I've got better discernment about who I'm not blaming anyone here or saying anything bad about anyone else. I've got better discernment about who can actually meet me in the ways that I need to be met. And so I associate and am around and cultivate relationships with people who can call me in rather than where we move into a destructive kind of demon type of pattern where we're hurting each other. I have people who will say, hey, Timothy, I need to talk with you. Can you be receptive and listen? So I give them a lot of credit at helping me grow in a more gentle way than the way I used to grow, which was I would be in relationship with people who had difficulty with me, and then the situation would become hurtful on both ends. And we learned through harm. Now I'm learning through what I would call compassion for myself and the compassion that others are able to show me. So I'm not going to take too much of the credit. I'm going to talk about my family, my beloveds, you, other people who have been willing to sit and repair with me. A man I love dearly as well, named Philip, he said to me once, masters of relationship are masters of repair, meaning nobody doesn't make mistakes. And I don't consider myself a master of repair yet, so I'm not a master of relationship, but I'm working on it.
Mhm. I'm really appreciating your humility. I think I've mentioned this recently on the show. I know I've been talking a lot about it with clients. Yogananda said that discernment is one of the last lessons, or the last lesson, for master souls. And I think that as we mature, and most of the people on this show are 50, 60 plus, and so we learn discernment, discernment of who we're going to spend our precious time with, discernment of who we're going to be especially close to, people that we might live with or connect with in a more intimate way. When we're young, it's just like anybody will have me, right? Or anybody that I find attractive. But as we get older, more and more and more, we become very discerning about where we put our time and our energy and our attention. And so I'm reminded of that. And I certainly think that you're becoming much more discerning. And I think, again, obviously I've brought you here, and you and Hannah and Christian, as role models for all of us to learn from as you share vulnerably about your story, and we can all relate to the different elements of it, So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Scott's going to put my website in the chat box or somewhere.
We're actually going to take a look at it. We're going to take
Great.
a look at it. And I love this. You are the one you've been waiting for. True love requires nothing. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
I mostly work with couples. I help couples learn to stay out of the looping patterns that they can get caught in, and come back into relating with each other in a compassionate, emotional way. I find that most couples, if they can learn to seek what is the need that my partner has and understand the emotions, men, myself included, sometimes have difficulty with this, that they can move out of the pattern and into a more intimate, closer way of relating, and that's fulfilling. I also coach individuals, and I'm also a medicine guide. I do guide people that want to do this kind of work with medicine. When it says true love requires nothing, we're talking about a pure love. We're talking about a love that is beyond, I think, this human existence. Actual love between two people obviously requires discernment, honesty, vulnerability, a willingness to call each other in, looking for the emotionality and the need of what our partner's asking for, identifying patterns. Love in human form requires a lot.
Yeah.
So don't get tripped up when I say true love requires nothing. I'm really talking about a universal love, or a even bigger cosmic love.
You read my mind, because when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. True. I also like that you say calling each other in as opposed to calling each other out. I think that's a really nice thing. And I noticed here that if you, again, by the way, for those of you watching on, it's TimothyEarle.com. Timothy Earle, E-A-R-L-E. There's an E at the end of Earle.com. And I see that you're offering a free inquiry call.
Yeah, it's really important to me to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes with each potential client or couple, to see if we're a good fit. Do my services match? And most people walk away with something from that call. And again, if you want one of these, then you can message me directly through the website, and they cost $40. And that's all you need to know, I think, about the t-shirt and what I do. And
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm looking for where they can message you. I guess if I go to menu, contact, there we go. So yeah, if you click on menu and then you go to contact, that's how you can contact Timothy. He's put his phone number in there. You can send a little note.
Yeah, you can
And
even just send me a message on my phone number and I'll get one to you, or we'll set up an inquiry call.
great. And oh, here, let me show that. I was looking at it. I forgot to share screen. So here it is. It's there's his number, 510-507-8129. And Timothy, thank you for being on
Yeah,
the show.
it's nice to reconnect with you here, and I look forward to doing it in person soon.
Yeah, now that you're in Berkeley, I definitely look forward to connecting with you. So I'd like that very much. Well, we're going to go to our next guest. And you've seen her on the show a couple times recently. We really just so appreciate who she is. And I thought this would be a great chance. I had a chance to talk to her a little bit, get to know her a little bit more deeply. And she's also gone through, like probably all of us, an interesting life's journey. And so I want to welcome back Hannah Bourke. Welcome, Hannah.
Thanks, Scott. Nice to be with you.
Good to have you back with us. I'm noticing your microphone's a little low. So either a little bit closer or turn it up if you can.
Sure.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling yeah, I'm feeling a little tender. I appreciate hearing Timothy's story, and I'm also feeling a surprising wave of vulnerability arising within me as I just breathe into what may want to come through. I've meditated, but have not fully like planned, and I know I'm gonna let my heart share freely. So yeah, just acknowledging I am feeling that right now.
Thank you. Is there anything I or we can do to just create a safe space for that beautiful vulnerability?
Mm. Yeah, I feel you've done such a beautiful job creating a safe space, actually, and I really loved the moment all together we held our hands up and just sent healing energy to Andrew and the other person that you named in the beginning of the show, and I felt that really bring ease to my spirit too. And people are just going through so much right now, and it's important to remember showing up in service. So,
Hmm, thank you. Well, let's all send Hannah lots and lots of love and appreciation for her being here and for her being willing to open and share vulnerably. And
thank
also
you.
sending love and appreciation to Timothy for sharing his story as well. And everybody, sending love to Eleanor and Ian, who you just learned in the chat box, are going through their changes. You know, each and every one of us in our own way, almost everybody's going through some change, some evolution, some liberation. Remember, sometimes it's actually a change of relationship, whether it's to a person or a job, is a form of liberation. So remembering, feeling the sadness of the letting go, and also embracing the liberation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let it flow, my friend. Let it flow.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here with you. My name is Hannah Bourke, and I am an intuitive, an ascension guide, and I work as an energy healer as well. And I just want to share that it's through the grace of the Divine Mother that I am here, that I have allowed myself to let my soul emerge fully and shine forth into this world. And I really believe that's what we're all here to do, is really come into coherence with our soul and let that shine forth fully in this world. My upbringing, I experienced a lot of trauma in my early years around 11, 12, 13, 14 years old in particular. And I really, at that point in my life, I lost my voice. I had learned it wasn't safe to share about what I was going through, and I just learned to keep my emotions really to myself. And that really started to kind of devour me from within. I had no tools and no sense of safety in myself or in this world. I felt, it really felt like a living hell for me from a young age, and I felt deeply disconnected from my true nature, from the world around me, from the people around me, from life itself. And my first suicide attempt, I was 14 years old, and it was actually on Mother's Day, which has continued to be an auspicious day in my life since that time, because ultimately my journey has been one of reconnecting with the Divine Mother, and I'll share more about that. But there have been many painful initiations and many tremendously soul-healing initiations that have occurred on Mother's Day in particular. And when I was 14 years old, it happened to be that I attempted to take my own life. And it was during this experience I realized that I didn't actually want to die. I just didn't know how to live in this world. I didn't know how to exist in this world in a way that could feel worth living. And I kept that experience to myself. I still didn't know how to talk about my feelings or trauma or what I had experienced yet. So it took me several years to open up about that. And I really began to cope and self-medicate with alcohol, with substances, and I've also found art. Shortly after that, I started to create art, and I would spend all day in my room just like painting and letting these images pour forth through me. Shortly after, I started to play guitar, and those were really allies for me to start to connect to my soul again, to allow myself to express and tell story when I felt like I had lost access, to open up and share what my experiences had been. And it was an energy that I allowed to move through me like a current. And I started to, I moved out to Missoula, Montana when I was 19 years old, and I intended to go to college, but I ended up just, falling in love with playing music, and I still felt really alienated in this world. I had this deep sense of feeling like I didn't belong here from a very young age, and it was at that period in my life when I had my first UFO encounter, and it really scared me. It felt like there was a darkness to it, and again, I tried to share about what I was experiencing, only to be met with a lot of people who could not relate to that experience, and really made me feel like I might not be right in my perception. And so I started to sink into this deeper groove, and I ended up having several more suicide attempts in my early 20s. And although I had like friends and I had things that were deeply meaningful, I was really in the underworld, and I understand that today. That was my initiation, was to move through tremendous darkness. And I had tried to hold on to this feeling inside that, I could heal myself. I had been placed in hospitals. I had gone through a lot of rehab facilities even that didn't feel like they could really support me. Deep inside, I knew I had trauma, and I didn't understand how to get to the core of that, because everything, the world, in terms of like the medical world and the way the care facilities are set up today, it's just sort of putting a band-aid over the surface. And for me, there was something much deeper needed, because there was trauma living in my body. And there was a fragmentation of my psyche, of my soul, and I was experiencing what I now know to be spiritual warfare and psychic attack. But at the time, I didn't understand it fully. And I went through an experience where I had a wave of energy, like I call it it was like the first time in my life I felt so energized and so connected. It was the beginning of my spiritual awakening, and I was starting to see synchronicities everywhere. I was beginning to vibrate higher than all of the repressed trauma and emotions. And even though there was still personal and ancestral and planetary trauma and grief living in my system, my spirit was beginning to awaken and vibrate higher. And I started to feel connected to life again. And it was during this period of my life where I first encountered the Divine Mother. And she revealed herself to me in a vision that was the purest experience of my entire life. It was unconditional love. She rearranged physical reality. I had a vision of her transforming the moon, and she just smiled. The moon had become her face. It was like the sky was her luminous body, and she was just smiling unconditional love, and she saw me. And all I could do was cry, because it was so beautiful. And I said, I didn't know, I forgot, I didn't know her energy. I'd never heard of the Divine Mother. I just knew that's who she was, and I knew her love was unconditional for me, and I knew it was unconditional for every single one of us. And she shared some really important messages with me about my soul and my mission. And I carried that experience as like the holiest experience of my life, and it gave me something to set me on this path of remembering what we're doing here as souls incarnate in human form on earth at this time. And I would go through another wave of darkness, and actually like very severe abuse that would be the final catalyst onto my healing path. And about 8 years ago, I stepped onto my healing path. I knew if I didn't heal myself that I was going to take my life for sure. And I started to allow myself to experience anything and everything that I had previously been very skeptical of. I was not a spiritual person before my encounter with the Divine Mother. I truly was a skeptic, but it really began my path of initiation into the mystery and how to heal myself holistically. I moved from Montana back to Marin County, where I currently live. And the Bay Area is such a mecca in terms of access to people on a healing and spiritual path. And I just started to do everything that I could to get connected to myself again. I got sober. I started practicing Kundalini yoga and other forms of yoga and breath work and meditation. And at first, meditation was deeply uncomfortable. It was very difficult to sit in my body. But I did, and I would have profound experiences of dissolving into light and being connected to the field of coherence all around me. And I started to practice Reiki. I became a Reiki practitioner to heal myself. And that energy really awoken something in me, in my awareness of energy. And I have always been highly sensitive to energy. since I was a little girl. And that really gave me an awareness of how to move and direct energy and heal myself multidimensionally. And it was in 2020 that I actually went through full-time psychic development training, where I really began to transform from the inside out as I started to isolate the energetic imprints of trauma within myself, both personal and ancestral planetary programming and conditioning, and begin to move out all of these imprints that weren't the true nature of my soul and my spirit, and call back my energy from all space, time, and all dimensions of reality, and anchor it into the core of my being, into my whole self in present time. And from that place, I started to live in greater coherence. I started to be able to help others with this gift as well. So people started to come to me for readings, intuitive readings, and that really flowered into what I do today, which is I work as an intuitive, but in the I have a real gift for zeroing in on trauma and helping people heal on the deepest level, from a place of safety and embodied wholeness, and bringing light back into these places that we have suppressed or rejected or abandoned within ourselves, for whatever reason. Trauma is so vast. It can be set from anything that allows us to feel deeply unsafe, or even a little bit unsafe in our bodies or in this world. And I'm sure we all have experiences coming to mind that we can remember. And really, as I started to move through these experiences and come into greater coherence in myself, I started to feel really connected to the mystery. Life started to feel, although it still had many, many ups and downs and challenges, just a deep sense of purpose. I started to feel a deep sense of purpose, why I'm here. I started to write these songs around 2022, although I'd written songs on guitar before. Healing songs started to pour through me in 2020. And I started to sing in devotion to the Divine Mother, whom I know and remember now as Sophia. And it's her Christ energy, the Sophia Christ energy, that makes up all of physical reality. She is form. And that Christ light lives within every single one of us. That divine life, that divine light lives in every single one of us, and we're here to liberate it and really embody our divinity and our direct connection to Source. And that's how I help people as a guide, but it's also what I do with my music. I sing in devotion to the Divine Mother. I sing in devotion to Gaia. I sing in devotion to our soul and to our awakening and remembering of our divine origin and what we're really doing here on this planet at this time. And I started to, it's been a journey to share my music. It's really flowered into so many meaningful experiences. But when I first started to play these songs, it felt so vulnerable. I would actually experience a lot of dissociation when I would play, and I started to heal myself by playing and sharing my gifts, and realizing my gifts didn't just belong to me, they belonged to us. They were given to me, and I really give them as an offering. And I want to share a story about how my mission really crystallized in terms of what I offer with these songs. And I was walking in the forest one day near my house in San Anselmo, and I stopped, and I took my shoes off, and I just had my bare feet on the earth, and I tuned in to Gaia, and I heard her, and her voice thundered through me, and she said, "Go to war for me." And I was surprised by her choice of words. And I asked her back telepathically, just tuning into her. I said, "How do you want me to go to war for you?" She told me, "Sing, dance, make art, do everything this world has programmed you to believe is unproductive." And she showed me a vision. She showed me the earth, and it was enveloped in a gray cloud of like this dense, dull, lifeless energy. And she showed me the light of my soul and the power of my soul as I shone my light, as I shine my light in this world. It had the power to dispel the dark cloud and to push it back. And I believe in my heart of hearts that we all have that in us. That as we shine our light and as we talk about the experiences and what we're truly healing from on this planet, we have the power collectively to shine our light and create a world that is absolutely exquisite, where we are connected to our soul and nature and the divine and each other in a harmonious way, where we can begin to live synergistically with all life in this miraculous ecosystem on Gaia. I truly believe that. And my healing journey is ever unfolding, but it just continues to get deeper and it continues to get more meaningful. And I am tremendously grateful for opportunities like this to get to share some of my story. And
Mm,
yeah, thank you.
mm. Thank you very, very much. Beautiful. Timothy Earle, I'm going to actually bring you up in a moment too, because I have a question, because your stories are a little similar. But something that came up for me, Hannah, is that how you discovered and have embraced the Divine Mother. And as a coach, one of the things that I work with people on, and this may be applicable for some of the people watching, it's common that people may have had a human mother that didn't work out so well, or that didn't have the ability to do what is natural, which is to nurture the child, to provide safety. You know, some of us have been blessed to have human mothers that could do that. Others weren't so fortunate. And then even for those that had wonderful, healthy human mothers, they do get older and they become less capable. And so making the transition from looking to the human mother or looking to the girlfriend or the wife or the female in your life and really extending out to divine mother, that clearly is a journey you've been on. And I just wanted to riff on it and maybe learn a little bit more about that, because I think it's something that really all of us can benefit from. Noticing, where am I looking to a human being for a certain quality of nurturing, care, love? And that's still okay. But when we look to the bigger source, to big Pachamama, whether you see her as Sophia or Mother Earth Gaia, she's very big and she can nurture us all. So anyway, I think I can tell by your reaction, you're getting the drift of where I'm going with this. And I'd love to get kind of your thoughts about your process with that and anything you want to riff on.
I'm so grateful that you asked this question and brought this up for our awareness, because it's so important. And I'll just share from myself too. Like, I experienced a lot of love from both my parents and a lot of wounding from both my mother and my father. I had deep mother and father wounds that have taken me, and I, still continue to heal new layers of. And there's so much love there. And I know there's people who have full spectrum experiences of feeling completely unsafe, to feeling somewhat in the middle, to feeling, not as aware of the deep wounding that can occur growing up with parents who haven't healed their generational trauma. And yeah, I'll just share that as I connected with Source, who is both the mother and the father, who I've primarily experienced visions and connection and really the fullness of guiding me to remember who I am as the Divine Mother, working through that. But I have had one encounter with the Holy Father energy as well. But I'll say, whatever you choose to call God, whatever you choose to connect with in terms of Source, that relationship, it can start as small as a little seed of just, help, Holy God, like God, whatever you are, please help me stop these obsessive thoughts. That was my first prayer. I was very skeptical and I was going through a lot of trauma. And that was my first prayer that I opened myself up to. And my prayer has evolved deeply today, but it started very simply, asking for help from something I didn't fully understand. That's enough to begin developing a relationship with this energy that has given us all life, whether we are consciously aware of that or not. And as you grow and develop that relationship, it becomes a source of strength that will guide you. You begin to be more connected to, focused on your soul and what you're healing from. And there's no more blame. And eventually I got to the place of really forgiveness, first and foremost for myself, for choosing to incarnate them, for my family, and for people who I had experienced harm from. But also I've harmed people as well. So it's this really complex journey of beginning to have compassion. Like was said by Timothy earlier, that was really poignant. The compassion for ourselves, beginning to forgive ourselves for being human, and developing that relationship with Source. Then you start to see other people as humans. We start to humanize each other more. And it's been my experience that I am much more understanding today. I have greater boundaries for sure. I know that my parents did the best they could with the tools and awareness they had at the time. And it's really been a journey of developing my direct relationship with Source that has allowed me to come into a place of not suppressing or bypassing or diminishing the truth of my experiences, and being able to give voice to them in a coherent way, set boundaries in a coherent way, but also enjoy the fruits of the connections in a whole new way and dimension. I feel tremendous closeness with my family. I feel so much love for them. My sister just gave birth to a baby girl, and it's a really beautiful thing to get to be part of my family today, but know that my true origins and my parents are Holy Mother, Holy Father, God, Source, and that's who I connect with most deeply. And it allows me to interact with the people in my family as other human beings whom I love very deeply. And that we're on this journey. We chose to, we made these agreements to grow and evolve together as souls. And it is a process, and you don't have to forgive people who have deeply abused you for them as much as you do it for yourself.
Mhm.
You do it for yourself so that you aren't burning up inside from that resentment and the anger. And it is a process and it cannot be forced. When there is real abuse, when there is real trauma, it's a very delicate thing, and safety is needed. And it's really needed to feel a sense of safety within yourself. I needed to feel safe within myself first and foremost, to know that I could hold myself through the experiences of taking the deep journey within myself, to begin to look at some of these energies and and unwind them delicately. Healing really happens in an environment of safety, and it helps to connect with source to create that sense of safety within. That's been my experience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for all that. I'm going to bring Timothy up because as I've heard both of your stories, you both have gone through very difficult life circumstances, and clearly it's influenced the work you're doing in the world now, the way that you sing and the healing work that you do, Hannah. For Timothy, the work that you do as a coach. I guess I just want to ask both of you how you view the relationship between what you've gone through as a crucible or as a necessary part of your evolution in, in your gifts to the world, in your professional work.
I guess I can go first. Is that okay, Anna? I really am enjoying your presence and your beautiful articulation of so much of your experience. It's very impactful, so thank you. I would say arrogance is something that I used for a long time to mask insecurity, and cancer brought me to my knees to where none of that mattered anymore. And the only thing that mattered was my eldest daughter and my beloved. I knew I needed to hang in there because I couldn't face, did not want to be somebody who left his younger daughters prematurely. And when I looked at my beloved, I could tell he really wanted me to hang in there. So that was a motivating factor. But otherwise, I was ready to go. I was in so much pain. And the only way I could escape the pain was to go into deep emptiness, meditation, and basically leave all reality. I wasn't disassociating. I was in a state of everythingness, spaciousness, emptiness. And that kind of stripped me of my arrogance, that whole process. And I came out of it with a lot more understanding of the harm I had been causing people, the harm that had been caused me, as Hannah was said, like I really came into accepting the traumas that had occurred. I'm still uncovering some of them, and bringing forgiveness to myself, to the people who harmed me, to myself when I harmed others. And that forgiveness process gave me a desire to live again. And to live with a greater desire to show up in vulnerability, in integrity, in consideration for others. I'd say that's the big thing I'm working on now is how can I be more considerate? How can I be considerate of every person at the table and not just the people that I like or that I find easy to get along with? And so it continues to be this process of self-love, forgiveness, and a deep reverence for what is. When Hannah was sharing about the Divine Mother and her face being in the moon and her body being the celestial spheres and everything around it, those are kind of experiences, that interconnectedness, the sense that even as small and as infinitesimal as I am, I belong and I have some significant contribution. and that I can do that humbly. And that may simply be being a pole of sanity or a pillar of love or a place where people can come and feel whole again. I'm getting a little out there. So it was a crucible. It brought me to my knees, and it really helped set me clear on if I can do one thing in this lifetime that I have, I want to be absolutely present with the reality that is existing around me at all times, and to not be trying to escape it or go somewhere in order to avoid pain or suffering, but that through pain and suffering, there is a lot of growth, and that it is actually in some ways a essential part for many of us of growing.
Mm. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you for your humility and sharing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is so resonant for me as well. In understanding the great mystery too of that much suffering and darkness initiated me into remembering the Christ light within me and within all of us. And it's through grounding deeply, connecting into the core of the planet, into the earth, and allowing this connection to source to stabilize me, to be a sanctuary, both for myself and for others, and to be present, to be present with exactly what is. And that is an initiation in and of itself to hold the hand of the dying and know, just feel nothing but love, to be there for friends in crisis, and to be there for the moments of joy too, and just feel this sense of connectedness within and presence with whatever it is in front of me, around me, to know it's all part of the body of God. It's all part of this experience together. And yeah, and I mean, there's still moments when I want to distract myself or, but I do my best to, I know how to prepare myself today. I know how to hold space. I know how to create a sacred space within myself and to be a presence that can be that for another today. And that is a gift. That's a gift.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you, Timothy, again. And Hannah, would you be willing to share a song with us?
I would love to. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for all you've shared. It's been so beautiful.
Thank you.
For you my whole life.
The gallery view. I'm going to read some of the comments. Pam writes, sung like a true light warrior. Kathy writes, beautiful, haunting with a soulful resonance. I agree. Hauntingly healing prayer song from deLa. Grace Denise writes, Hannah, you are a gift. Thank you for your sincerity and your wisdom. Susan Blomquist writes, thank you both for being so very articulate about important journeys for each of us and how you've addressed your challenges. And more and more comments coming in. So much appreciation for what you have provided for us. And a reminder that you can learn more about Hannah and her offerings at her website. And it's her name, Hannah, or Hannah, Hanna, Bourke, Bourke, HannahBourke.com. And that's where you can learn about her healing work, her upcoming classes and events. I'm sure some of you may want to receive some of the extraordinary healing abilities that she has. She does Reiki, light body or healing, clairvoyant psychic soul activity. So really beautiful what she does. So thank you very much, Hannah, for just your incredible offerings. Is there anything, and also there's some music that you can find on her website as well. And if you really want to support her, you can go to her GoFundMe. That's always a wonderful way to show love and appreciation. She's wanting to put together a video of her Earth Daughter song. She played that song on a previous show. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you feeling? Are you feeling good about how it flowed?
Yeah, I feel so much gratitude and felt really powerful to share so openly. I don't often get to tell that part of my story, and although I don't feel defined by my trauma or past or anything today, it is part of the path, and I think it's important to acknowledge and that we can heal from anything. We truly can. Yeah.
And take a look at all the comments in the chat box. Quite a few that have come in since the ones that I read. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more guest that's with us live tonight. You might remember him from a previous show. It's Christian deLa. He's a spiritual teacher, personal transformation coach, and an award-winning author with over 30 years of professional experience. He's spoken at TEDx. His books include Coming Out Spiritually, Awakening the Soul of Power, and his latest book, Conscious Love, Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships. So welcome back, Christian. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
Would love to hear the story you'd like to share with our audience tonight.
It's a big question.
It is.
I was born in Cuba, so I'm an immigrant. I came to the US when I was 10. And I'm actually really grateful for that experience because I lived in a communist country for the first 10 years of my life, which gives one an appreciation of so many things that we take for granted, you know, in the developing and developed world. So came, you know, did high school in Miami, went away to school, lived in California, Northern California for many, many years, currently in Aspen, Colorado. And I've been doing personal transformation work for over 35 years. I was on a track to get a PhD in psychology. My dad was a psychiatrist. And I discovered breathwork. And after my very first session of breathwork, I jumped tracks. I never went for the PhD because it works so fast and heals so profoundly at so many levels. And I've been doing that kind of transformational work all over the world. I do retreats with different themes that you kind of alluded to, personal empowerment. I work specifically with women around the theme of women's empowerment. I believe that the empowerment of women is the single most important thing that needs to happen in the world. It's not to idealize women, not to put women up on a pedestal, not to give women more crap to clean up in this world of ours, this mess that we have collectively made. But it's because as a world, we've been running so off balance, so off kilter. One of my challenges growing up was living in a communist country is that my parents were counter-revolutionaries. And there was real danger, you know, and even, for example, just taking all nine of us kids to church. They really took some risks standing up for their own beliefs. And I think that I carry that sense of revolution in my blood. And I'm grateful for that, you know, grateful for having had experiences that give me the sense of perspective to question, to see things from a different way. One of my challenges also growing up was that I always knew that I was gay. And even though our world and our species has come a long way in that area, at least in the developing countries and developed countries, but even still, there's so many rights that are just very recent, like even the right to marry, it's very recent, even in our country for same-sex couples. And that created kind of it was an interesting dynamic, you know, being one of 9 kids. There was a sense that you had to do something, you had to be in order to be seen, because all 9 of us were there was only 12 years between the youngest and the oldest, and no twins. But at the same time, it was also ingrained in us that we had to not be seen, right? Because there was real danger in being seen. So it created this interesting dynamic in me. And in some ways, I'm amazed that I write about themes like, you know, what it means to live heroically in the 21st century. But I write about personal empowerment because if I look back at my life, my adolescence was one long depression with suicidal fantasies. And I guess there is something to be said for the Catholic hierarchy of sins, because that was a worse sin to take my life. So that wasn't really an option. But you know, I can speak about all this stuff now with a sense of experience and appreciation, because it's all that pain, that alienation, has made me who I am, and it has given me such a sense of empathy and understanding of other people's pain. The details are always different for all of us, but pain is pain, right? And having developed the ability and having gained the tools to break myself free from that imprisonment, allows me to guide other people into freedom out of whatever self-made prison they found themselves in, and for that I'm incredibly grateful. And because I know that most of us kind of struggle with that. It's a common experience to have that struggle between seeing and hiding, between fear and freedom, and to be able to draw on my own lived experience and share that to help other people get free. There's nothing more meaningful for me. I mean, so much more that I could say, but maybe I'll pause now and see if there are any questions.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your life. Thank you for taking what you've experienced and putting it into books, putting it into teaching. Really being out there. It's so important. And when you were on the show before, I was so touched by your eloquence. And I know there's a certain vibration, honestly, that you and Timothy and Hannah all carry. It's a certain frequency of authentic humility. So I'm just really appreciating that. I guess one thing I want to ask, although we touched on it before, but it's just so prevalent at a time when the current administration is trying to set so much progress back. Is there anything you'd like for, whether we're gay or straight or any number of things, is there anything you'd like for us to know about what we can do to make a difference? Because I'm just deeply concerned about some of what's going on in our world in that way right now.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful, deep and insightful question. I think part of what I find really interesting in that is that it's really sad and tragic that so many people in the LGBTQ community struggle with spirituality. We confuse it with religion, and no wonder, given the treatment that we have received at most of the religions in the world, historically, and even to a certain degree today. But what's ironic about that, what's sad about it, is that before the patriarchal cultures and religions, back when the divine feminine was honored, people that we today call LGBTQ were not only spiritually inclined, but were actually honored for the roles of spiritual service and leadership that we played all over the world. And that's part of what I did in that first book that you mentioned, Coming Out Spiritually, is synthesize some of those archetypal roles that we play throughout history. Because it's, one of the rate of suicide among LGBTQ youth is like 3-4 times as high as their heterosexual counterparts. So even though we have made a lot of progress, there's still a lot in society that makes it challenging to be fully ourselves. And like I said, I think to be fully ourselves is a universal call. It's a universal imperative. And for some of us, it kind of becomes a necessity early on. It's more of a matter of survival earlier in life, which is challenging, and there's a blessing to it as well. That's part of the maturing process that happens when you have to ask and face existential questions at a young age. Is you grow up faster, develop empathy and compassion and understanding for other people's journeys. So yeah.
I'm remembering when you were on before, you did a beautiful job of presenting historically some of the roles that LGBTQ souls have played that are not always the most celebrated, but as the years go by and time goes by, turns out to be incredibly important. And it was just a beautiful sharing. Would you be glad to share that again?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have time to get into all of them, but for example, the mediator role is an important one. In many indigenous contexts, like in Native American context, there's a term, kind of an umbrella term, two-spirited people, because we're thought to contain, we're thought to contain both the feminine and the masculine, which I think all humans embody and express the feminine and masculine energies. But I think maybe we do that a little more disproportionately, or have more of a balance around that earlier on in life than other humans. So the mediator in a tribe where people that we today call LGBTQ. So when there was strife, when there was a argument between the men and the women, or between a couple in the village, we were the ones that they went to for help and for assistance in the process, because we were thought to contain the energy of both. So we understood and identified with the energy of both, and were able to be good mediators. That mediator energy also manifested itself in we were midwives for the dying, in a sense. We knew the roles and the songs and the rituals and the ceremonies to help people transition and to honor their transitioning process. So we also mediated between the worlds, between the realities. Keepers of beauty is another one that's pretty obvious. If you in the book, for each one of the 10 archetypes, I like the revolutionary, the spiritual revolutionary, it's another one. But I would give examples of people who embodied that, either famous people or throughout history. And the keeper of beauty is one that's incredibly, it was like pages and pages and pages of people who, if they lived today, would identify as LGBTQ. And starting with Michelangelo and Leonardo, so significant contributions, who have made significant contributions to the world of art and beauty. And to me, in this world of ours that is so desperately in need of it, anybody who's bringing beauty into this world is fulfilling a spiritual function.
Thank you so much. I would love for you to tell us about your book. Now, your website, and we're going to look at the website in a moment, is soulfulpower.com. And your new book is about awakening the soul of power. Usually we don't hear those words put together, soul and power. Can you give us a little homeopathic dose of what that
Sure.
what that is?
Sure. That's actually the previous book. The current book, the relationship book, comes out this Friday. Awakening the Soul of Power probably came out 3 years ago. And the thing is that most of us struggle with issues around power. There's a lot of confusion and conditioning that has happened around that word, and how we relate to it. And so, to me, stepping into power in a soulful way, what that means is doing it with, how do we step into power without having to push somebody down, without it having to be hierarchical, without it having to be power over, or about fear or force or manipulation? How do we do that in a way that we don't need to put our knee on anybody's neck in order for us to feel powerful? So then I talk about different kinds of power. There's worldly power, the ego power, the way that the world relates to power. And then there's soulful power, the power that comes from within, that doesn't need to prove anything to anybody, that is humble. Think of a Gandhi or a Gandalf in their simple monastic robes and their sandal feet. You would never know from looking at them from the outside how much power they hold until it's necessary, and then get out of the way. And it's the power, again, that comes from humility, that doesn't need to prove anything to anybody, but it just is. And I think it's actually more powerful than the way that we relate to power in the worldly way.
Beautiful. You've inspired me to share a story that I think you'll enjoy. I have shared this once before on the show. One of the most important mentors in my life was an indigenous elder, Grandfather David. He was a Hopi Indian elder. And when I was studying with Grandfather was when I was producing educational television shows for teenagers. So I asked him what he thought the most important thing for young people to know was. And what he said was that we are growing up in a culture that's teaching us false values. It's teaching us that what's of value is money, sex, and power.
Mhm.
All the heroes that they end up with money, or they end up with lots of sex, or they end up with lots of power. And they're false values and we know they're false values according to Grandfather David, because not everyone has lots of money, and not everyone is going to be sexual. Not everyone, has power. He said what our true values are: service, devotion, and humility.
Hmm.
And the reason that these are true values is that anyone from 3 years old to 103 years old can be of service to their family or to the community or to others. Anyone at any age can practice devotion, and anyone at any age can practice humility. And for him, humility was gratitude, being grateful to Father Sky, Mother Earth, Creator, for our many blessings. And then the punchline was that when you provide a service, the money and abundance will always come. When you are of age to be in relationship and you practice devotion, you'll have the greatest sex of your life. And when you are humble and you practice true humility and gratitude, then Great Spirit gives you power, because you recognize that it's coming from a higher place through you. And for some reason, I just thought of Grandfather David and that teaching in what you were sharing. There seems to be a commonality there.
Yeah, totally. Totally relevant to what we were talking about.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a look at your website because there's a lot going on there. His website is Soulful Power. The FUL is just one L, soulfulpower.com. And there's a lot going on. We can learn about his newest book. So let's go there. Let's take a look at, whoops, no results are found.
That's good to know that link is not working.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at where we can find your books. Let's try it that way. Awakening the Soulful Power. There's the book we were just talking about, Awakening the Soul of Power. And I think that's a book that I want to get. That sounds absolutely beautiful. And the new book you said is coming out on Friday.
It's not even on there yet.
So it's not on the website yet.
Nope.
Okay.
It's called Conscious Love, Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships.
Wow. As a relationship geek, I'm very intrigued by that. So I'm going to need to bring you back on. The next time we have an Authors That We Love edition, I would like to have you come back on. And by that time, you can show us the book and we can purchase this. How's that sound?
Beautiful. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very, very much for being with us. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful, just such beautiful beings tonight. Before I show the Andrew Harvey video, because I know that Christian needs to leave, wondering if there's any questions that anybody has of Christian or Timothy or Hannah, so that if they need to leave, they can. So if you have any questions, either raise your hand. You can do that by doing that little thing, clicking the raise your hand, or popping it into the chat box. And in a moment, otherwise, we will go to, Shoshana has raised her hand. So Shoshana, yes, I am adding you.
I'm so touched by, oh my gosh, my heart is so full from all of these tender and authentic and beautiful shares. So I just had a question for you, Christian. Was there a moment, an epiphany where you had this connection and engagement with that deeper soul power that you feel flows through like an epiphany or an experience? Maybe you shared somewhat about it.
What a great question. I mean, yeah, of course I've had moments of that. But the name for the book, Awakening the Soul of Power, actually came to me in a meditation. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know that it was going to be a book. And yet that's what it turned out to be. And like so much of the spiritual stuff, we can't chase it, right? It's more about, rather than grabbing it, it's more about becoming magnetic and allowing it to come to us. And it's like, it's hard to speak about the personal experiences of it, because usually they happen in sacred settings, whether it's meditation or breathwork session. And so much of that language is just, the concepts are ineffable and hard to put into words. But I do know that power is energy, right? So that's what the word means. Energy is power. And so sometimes I have felt that in my body in subtle, tingling, even more sensual ways. And sometimes it just like knocks me on my butt, because there's so much of that energy coming through my body, particularly like in a breathwork session or a medicine session, that kind of thing. But I don't know, Shoshana, that I can point to one experience.
Absolutely, I understand. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Well, again, thank you, Christian, Hannah, Timothy. If you can stick around, great. If you need to go, I know that you may need to leave. I want to thank our wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry Anderson. Jerry and I are both great fans of the great Andrew Harvey. And Jerry texted me yesterday and said, Scott, are you aware that something very significant has happened, that Andrew's home, his condo, burned down? I said, no. And so Jerry sent me this video that we're about to watch. And what amazing timing, given the nature of the show that you've just watched. And so we're going to hear again, and it's a very similar vibration. It's interesting. The vibration that we've heard from all three of our guests, I find is very similar to the vibration you're about to experience. For any of you who don't know, Andrew Harvey is an extraordinary man. He is extraordinary. I've been a follower of his. He coined the phrase spiritual activism. Andrew had a fascinating background. His father was the British ambassador to India. And so Andrew, when he was a little boy growing up, grew up in India, but in this very aristocratic way. His father was very aristocratic, the British ambassador to India, shortly after India had gained its independence. And so Andrew had this incredible juxtaposition of growing up between the very staunch British aristocracy and Indian life, East Indian life, which was very different, very Hindu. So he was exposed to Christianity and Hinduism. And it started this lifelong thing of him exploring different cultures, different ways of thinking. He ended up being very brilliant, graduated from honors with Oxford. At an early age, recognized that he was gay. So another juxtaposition of being a gay man coming out of an aristocratic background. And his life's been amazing. And he's written over 40 books. He's collaborated with the Dalai Lama. And he did a beautiful 3-hour program for the Global Peace Tribe a few years ago, which I'll put the links to that program. It's an amazing 3 hours of Andrew sharing his stories, his experiences. It was a very generous time that he spent with us. So that's a little bit about Andrew. And here is the video that touched my heart. And again, thank you to our wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry Anderson, for sharing this with us. Thank you, Jerry.
Hello, my dear friends. I'm speaking to you from a ropey hotel bedroom because on May the 2nd, my condo burnt to a crisp and my beloved cat of 17 and a half years, who was the love of my life, died of intoxication by the smoke. This has been the greatest tragedy I have ever experienced, but it is already beginning to birth the greatest joy and calm and focus and resolution that I have ever experienced. So I know viscerally now, not just spiritually, not just intellectually, what the dark night can do, which is birth progressively a new kind of human being. It is appearing, despite myself, in me. I want to tell you what happened, and I want to cut to the chase. On May the 2nd, I sat down and wrote a preface to my new book, which is coming out in February, called The Magdalene Revolution. And in that preface, I finally got the courage to write on the page what I had been experiencing through the writing of the book, that this is the time of the Pentecost, Mary Magdalene. Finished the preface and said, the flames of the Pentecost of Mary Magdalene and of the divine feminine are now descending on the earth. Let us all become one of its singing flames. I stopped writing. I was elated. I went out for breakfast and to buy food for myself and for my beloved. I came back 15 minutes later, and there was a fire belching horrible smoke from my condo, and my books, clothes, treasures, documents, photographs, all were gone, and my cat, my beloved cat, the love of not just this life, but many lives, was gone. I was, of course, totally shattered and heartbroken in ways I cannot describe, but I know many of you who've lived through disasters know exactly what I mean. But at the same time, I felt the flames of tender, joyful love irrigate my mind, my heart, my soul, and my body. And I knew that what had happened was and is a divine event. It is something that I needed. It is something that my work needed. It is something that I have completely and absolutely surrendered to. And it is something that I know will birth in me a new kind of being and a new kind of work. When I was 50, I went to visit the Nadis, the great hidden astrologers of India, in a small village outside Chidambaram, which is the center of the Shaivite world. And I sat in an unpretentious room with an unpretentious guy who had an old scroll in front of him, who read from that scroll the name of my mother, my father, the names of the books that I'd done. And then he came to where I was in my life, and he looked straight in my eyes and he said, your next 20 years will be hell. It's written here that you will go through very great ordeals. You will be rejected and humiliated and treated badly, because the vision that you have been entrusted to bring in is extremely radical and people aren't yet ready to receive it. But you must survive, because they will be. My friends, you are ready now, and you have shown me by the reception that you've given me in this last 2 years that all the work I've done over many decades is now useful to me, and that fills my heart with joy, and that fills my heart with healing for what I've been through to get this work to you. So I'm feeling shattered, more alive than I've ever been, heartbroken, but more joyful than I've ever been, absolutely unknowing of what's going to happen, but certain that a new life is beginning and a whole new level of my work for you, my service to you, my service to the birth of a new humanity are also now beginning. That is what the Nadis told me would happen, and that is what is happening. So as I turn to you for the first time in all my life to ask you to support me, I turn to you not as a beggar, but in the dignity of an authentic teacher, in the dignity of my authentic work, and in the dignity of my own prophetic understanding of what this event means and what it's already doing in me. And I turn to you in my dignity to your dignity, because I've understood two things about what I am doing right now. I never asked for help because I wanted to protect my vision from being tofuized, from being banalized, from being controlled, as visions often are when patrons step in to guide them. I knew I had to preserve the integrity of my teachings and prevent it from being turned into marshmallow mysticism, which unfortunately is one of the signs of Kali Yuga. That has been done. And because that has been done, all my funds have been blasted away. I have lost everything to begin again, and to begin again with you. Because what this compels me rejoicingly to do is to open my arms to my destiny and open my arms to you, and to say to you, if you have loved my work, if it has touched your heart, if it has given you consolation in times of catastrophe and disaster and heartbreak, if it has given you a vision of the deepest meaning of our tragic but amazing time, if it has opened to you the vision that I've been offering in the last 10 years of engoldenment of the birth of the divine human, then please now help not only me, but the Institute of Sacred Activism that I have personally funded out of my own efforts for years and years and years to preserve the integrity of the difficult but wonderful vision that was given me to give to you. The reason why I realize this is now essential is because not only does it take a village to raise the divine human, it takes a village to come together in loving, equal, mutual support to birth the divine human together in the middle of this disaster, and partly because of this disaster. Just as my house burnt down and I lost everything, so millions of people will now have their houses, inner and outer, and down, and will lose everything. But I will be here with all the other pioneers of the birth to say to you, do not be afraid. There is a way through. We are being guided. We will be ennobled and supported and sustained and invigorated and encouraged beyond anything that we can imagine. And those are not just beautiful words. They are saying them to you now from someone who knows the truth of them, as I know my name, and the fact that I'm wearing the one garment that actually survived the flame, an old Indian jacket, which I love. My institute had drawn up plans about 3 weeks ago for 4 new major adventures, which we were all thrilled about. First is a new curriculum attuned to the growing disaster. The second is a center for sacred marriage mysteries that will be in Chartres and in Avalon, based on the new book of Mary Magdalene, whose Pentecost, I think, now has been definitively proved. The third will be a oasis for all those great sacred activists all over the world who are working in hellish conditions with no money. The fakes and the frauds get the cash. The ones who are really sweating in the trenches of truth have been horribly neglected. But I want to be one of those people who come together and I know who they are and they need help. And I want to be able to funnel whatever is given to me to them wisely. And the fourth is that I'm about to establish, and I will establish, come hell or high water, a simple, earthy, grounded spiritual center in Asia for the growing mystical hunger of Asia. And it will be in India, probably in Kashmir. It won't be a spa. It will be a place for the lovers of all kinds to meet, and it will be called the House of Nothing. So I am asking you, not as a beggar. I am not a beggar. We are all beggars before the divine, and that is absolutely appropriate. I'm asking you to help me, whom you have loved and honored and so often supported, to support me at the moment when I need it most, to be able to continue to offer you, as I have always offered you for 30 years, the depth of myself, everything that I've been given to give. I'm just beginning. Help me begin again. Help me birth myself so I can help you birth yourselves and birth a new humanity together, a new world. Bless you. Thank you. And I know you will.
The video continues on with Stephen Dinan from the Shift Network doing the pitch for going to GoFundMe, but it's a rather lengthy pitch, so I'm going to do it myself. And I've put into the chat box where you can find his GoFundMe, but I also will pull it up right now. We can take a look at it, and I'm going to donate. And a couple things to remember when you go to GoFundMe. So you click donate now, and it's really easy. If you just go to GoFundMe and type in Andrew Harvey, it immediately comes up. So I'm going to donate $111. Now here's a really important piece. Down here is where they have the tip. You do not need to leave a tip. So just below the amount you put in, take this little bar and you can take it all the way to zero. Or you can give, something to GoFundMe if you want. All right, but you don't have to automatically do what they've got it set at. All right, so I appreciate you GoFundMe, but I'm going to keep it to $1.11. And then, whoops, no, I don't want to remove that. I want to use it. And I'll continue to proceed. You don't need to see my credit card number. I've done that before. People said, Scott, did you know that anyway, I hope that we will all donate. And we certainly are right now going to do what we did at the beginning of the show. We're going to go into sending maximum grace to beloved Andrew Harvey, this extraordinary elder. And let's hold the vision for him receiving all the support as he goes through his crucible and accomplishes the great work that he's here to do. Maximum grace for beloved Andrew Harvey. And while being in this beautiful community vibe, I invite everybody to send love to anyone you know, or even yourself. Let's just harness all this beautiful energy of our global peace tribe, of our community, and send it to those in need. Thank you, everyone. Hannah, I'm wondering if you would be willing to do a closing song, and if it's too much to ask, then that's totally okay because you've already given and contributed so much. But if you'd be willing to do that, let me know.
I would love to.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's so good. All right. Well, while you get set up, I do want to let people know our next show on Saturday night. New thought leaders of many generations for our awakening world. And we've got a really wonderful group of people joining us. Chief Phil Lane Jr. will be joining us. Reverend Retta, kind of representing one generation. Then kind of a middle generation, we've got Magic Bernstein and Maggie Engel, who just got married. And they're a beautiful couple. And they've both been on the show individually. And then our younger generation, Tatiana and Maggie and Dominique. So it's going to be a really beautiful, beautiful show. And that's going to be our show this Saturday night. And Hannah, you fit right in because you certainly are a wonderful example of a younger generation of wisdom keepers. And it comes through your healing work, through your vulnerability, and through your music.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be a really beautiful show. Thank you for allowing us to share and giving us a platform and a voice.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
So this song is my newest song, and it references the vision I first experienced of the Divine Mother, and it's called In God's Dream.
mother of all life. Sophia be thy name, and
Thank you so, so much. So haunting, so beautiful. Just so beautiful. Mm.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a night, huh? What a show. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. I want to say hello to all of our friends watching on Facebook and YouTube, and all of you watching the recordings. A lot of people watch the recordings of our show. So wherever you happen to be, whenever you happen to be seeing this, welcome. Share the show, share this with others. These stories, these 4 stories we heard tonight are such an inspiration and such a wonderful model for how to make our way through the hard times of life. So thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, beloved Andrew Harvey. And thank all of you for watching. Have a beautiful evening, a beautiful day. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode, next edition of The Awakening World. Good night, everybody. And thank you, deLa, for helping.